I don't think my story would be possible in any other country in the world. No, I'm not sending you into the army. That will be a choice.
You mentioned your girls there. When was the last time you embarrassed your kids?
They'd probably say on a daily basis. My newest thing, actually, music-wise, which I've slowly been getting into over the past few months, is country music.
Thank you so much for joining me, Prime Minister. So talk me through, first of all, the first British Asian Prime Minister. What is that like? What was that moment like when you and your family first walked into Number 10 as you being Prime Minister for the first time?
Well, it's obviously a very special moment for me, my family, and a special moment for the country. But what was, I think, even more remarkable about it is that it wasn't that big a deal. And I think that speaks to the kind of country we are. We're the most successful multi-faith, multi-ethnic democracy anywhere in the world. I don't think my story would be possible in any other country in the world, where my grandparents can come here with very little and 2 generations later, there I am as Prime Minister and Chancellor before that. And that should give us all a sense of pride about our country and what it stands for, and it's a great source of strength for us.
The polls have been against you throughout this. Can you still claw it back? How are you going to feel if you do lose it all this week?
It's important to me to fight as hard as I can for every vote until the last moment. That's why I was up this morning at 4 a.m. talking to workers, and I'll keep going to the last minute, because the choice for people on Thursday is really important. And in spite of what some people say, all a foregone conclusion, every vote matters. And people on Thursday can vote to prevent a Labour supermajority, they can vote for tax cuts, and they can vote to have their pension protected. That's what a vote for the Conservatives means. It means, you're voting to prevent a Labour supermajority, handing them a blank cheque to do what they want. You're voting for tax cuts because I want to deliver tax cuts for people at every stage of their life. And I want to make sure that people's pensions are protected, not raided and taxed as they would be under Labour. And it's also a vote to make sure our borders are secure and we continue to get migration down. So that's what I'd say to people. Think very hard before you vote on Thursday. I get people have frustrations with me, with the party. It's been a difficult few years. Of course, we haven't got everything perfectly right. I accept that. But on Thursday, you're making a choice about the future of our country, and that has enormous consequences for your family. You have to ask yourself, can you really afford thousands of pounds in higher taxes under Labour? And I think most people's answer to that question is no. And I'd say, well, then don't vote for it.
To those that say you've got a job set up over in the US and you're ready to go over there if it all fails this week, tell me, what's your response to that? How solid are you in the fact that you might stay on as leader and as MP for the next 5 years if you win?
This is my home. Yeah, of course. I'm fighting very hard to win this election so that I can continue to serve people. And actually, after the time that we've had as a country over the past few years, and a lot of my job over the last 18 months has been dealing with challenges, helping us recover from the economic challenges that COVID and the war in Ukraine caused. I'm now excited to have the opportunity to talk to the country about what I'd like to do if I get to do this job for 5 years, where these difficult things are behind us, where I can continue.
Yes, that you'll stay on as a leader, even if you don't win the election.
No, I thought you said, sorry, if I do win.
If you don't win the election.
No, well, I'm focused on winning the election, right? And that's what I'm focused on doing. And I want to have the opportunity to continue serving people, building on the progress that we've made, and continuing to cut their taxes at every stage in their lives, protect their pensions, and ensure that our borders are secure and we, tackle illegal migration and bring the levels of legal migration down. That's what I'm focused on doing, and I'm working very hard for every vote over the next couple of days.
And speaking of migration, you spoke about your grandparents coming to this country earlier. Both our grandparents came here to work hard. Talk me through how that's changed over the last few years and what your promise is to people going into this election.
Now, the levels of migration are too high, and that's why I've taken action to reduce them. This year, the number of visas that we've issued is down by 30% because of those measures I've taken. Net migration is forecast to halve over the next 12 months, which is positive. And I'll go further if I'm re-elected as Prime Minister. We'll have a legal cap voted on in Parliament every year to set the number, to guarantee that it continues to fall, so people can actually have certainty that that will happen. So that's what I'll do on legal migration. And when it comes to illegal migration, my position is really clear. I think it's wrong, it's unfair that people come here illegally, jump the queue, and put pressure on public services, and also, that's a risk to our security. That's why I've worked to reduce the number of boats that are coming by a third over the past 12 months, give or take, compared to the 12 months of the year before, and why we need to have a deterrent. right? And the only way to fully solve this problem is to make it clear to people who come to our country illegally that they won't be able to stay. We'll remove them. And that's why, under me, flights will go to Rwanda. As people saw in the TV debates, Keir Starmer doesn't have an answer to this question. Illegal migrants will be out on our streets. We will become the soft touch of Europe when it comes to migration, just when other European countries are all now agreeing that our approach is the right one. And that's a real choice for people. If you want illegal migration tackled, if you want to stop the boats, it's only a vote for me and the Conservatives that's going to deliver that for you. We've got a plan, and allow us to get on and get that plan up and running.
You chose to call this election now. Do you have any regrets over your time being Prime Minister, over your time being Chancellor, and for the timing that you chose for this election?
No, this was the right time for us to consider our country's future, because when I got this job, my number one priority was to restore economic stability. Right? And we've got inflation down from 11%, imagine where it was, back to target at 2%. Wages are rising, the economy's growing faster than our competitors, energy bills falling again this week, and taxes now starting to be cut. So that's the foundation where the country deserves to make a choice about its future. And I want to build on that progress, continue cutting people's taxes, protect their pension, and control migration and secure our borders. And that's a choice for people on Thursday. A vote for anyone else is just a vote to, have a Labour supermajority, a blank cheque to do what they want, and to have your taxes go up by thousands of pounds and your pension taxed and raided, right? And that's the very clear choice people need to have in their minds as they go into that ballot box.
We've been sent some questions in from our KISS listeners, so a younger audience here. This is a bit more quickfire, so nice quick answers if you can, Prime Minister. Talk me through, why are you sending us into the army? Are you going to take away our driving licences?
No, I'm not sending you into the army. That will be a choice. Actually, so under our modern form of national service, young people will be able to choose, just like my own daughters who will have to do it as well. And you have to choose what you'd like to do. So for some people, they'll choose to go into the armed forces, but that will be really competitive, selective, and it will be a very small number of people who end up doing that. And everyone else is going to do more civic volunteering roles, like St John's Ambulance or helping healthcare locally, those kinds of things, and where people can make a difference in their communities and gain practical skills that will help them for the rest of their life, and get that sense of purpose that comes from being part of something bigger than yourself and contributing back to society. And I keep speaking to young people and parents across the country, all of whom are excited by that, once they understand that no one is going to be forced to join the army. There will be a choice for people, and the vast majority of people will actually choose to do volunteering roles in their local community, which I think everyone agrees is a good and positive thing to do.
You mentioned your girls there. When was the last time you embarrassed your kids?
And they probably say on a daily basis whenever I kind of try and bomb into whatever phone call they're on, or when they're talking to their friends. But no, I'm very blessed. I have two gorgeous girls, and they're the great love of my life. And I don't get to see them as much, obviously, particularly in the last few weeks. But what I'm doing is working hard to make them proud and working hard to make a difference to everyone's lives in our country. Like, that's what motivates me every day. And even though they don't get to see me as much, hopefully they can see that their dad is trying to do something important for the country and make a difference to people, and they can be proud about that when they grow up and look back on it.
Absolutely. Last gig you went to?
Last gig I went to? Gosh. Taylor Swift last year.
Did you go to Taylor Swift last year? Why didn't you go this year?
Well, because I've been in an election campaign.
We saw Keir Starmer go, didn't we? We saw him attend that. The Royals went. I mean, did you not want to make... Do your girls like her?
They're massive Swifties, but we went last year, so we saw her last year when we were on holiday. So we were there. We are a big Taylor Swift household. So we have all the bracelets, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So they were very. I've two tween girls. So we are a big Taylor Swift household. So
are you going in August? She's coming back to Wembley.
At this point, I'm just focused on winning this election. But my newest thing, actually, music-wise, which I've slowly been getting into over the past few months, is country music. That is a newer thing for me. So I've got friends, and some of my protection officers actually are all big country music fans. So they've been all sending me songs because I started watching Yellowstone, and that's how I've been slowly getting into it and quite enjoying that. And that's obviously Taylor Swift, where her heritage.
She came from
so
there,
exactly. So I've been getting into country music over the past few months.
We do have a country music radio station. I will give you that, so you can.
There we go.
Later.
So I can have a listen.
I do
see if some of my favourites are on there.
As well, very briefly, directly to young people, what are you going to be doing for them, just quickly for us?
Yeah, I think all young people that I speak to really want one day to be able to own their own home. I think that's really important. Of course, I'm going to get great education for them, great apprenticeships, great jobs for them to go to, and cut their taxes so they can keep more of their hard-earned money to spend on what they want. But fundamentally, owning your own home is something that I want everyone to be able to experience and fulfill that aspiration. So not only are we going to build the right number of homes, I want to cut taxes for first-time buyers. So if you're a young couple and you want to buy your first home, I'm going to effectively abolish stamp duty for first-time buyers, saving you thousands of pounds, and introduce a new form of Help to Buy, which means that you'll only have to have the money for 5% of your deposit, and the government Help to Buy loan covers the rest. Combined with a stamp duty cut, that's going to mean that you can get on the housing ladder years and years before you otherwise might be able to, so that you can experience, every young person can experience what I experience and so many do, like that wonderful feeling when you get the keys to your first flat, your first home. It's so special. I want every young person to be able to fulfill that aspiration, and we're going to cut taxes to make that possible for people.
Just very briefly, Prime Minister, we do want to ask about how racism has played a part in this campaign. It is very difficult, obviously, to discuss, and we saw last week you were very open about this. What discussions do you have to have with your family, with your girls, when this comes up, and how does it affect you?
Yeah, look, I addressed it at the time, and I didn't like. In fact, I hated having to repeat the words. I did it deliberately because I did want to call it out for what it was, which was appalling and wrong. And it wasn't just for my girls and my family. It was for everyone who's experienced racism in their lives. It's not who we are as a country. Right? The vast majority of people believe that it's not the colour of your skin or your gender or your background that defines who you are. It's your character, it's your values, it's your actions. And we opened up this interview talking about the fact that I was the first British Asian Prime Minister. And I was saying that is wonderful, but it's also was not that big a deal, because that's who we are as a country. We're the most successful multi-faith, multi-ethnic democracy anywhere in the world. That's a source of pride and strength for us, and that's what we need to focus on. And the small minority of people who are trying to undermine that are simply wrong, and they should be called out for that.
Last question, I promise. What do you admire most about Keir Starmer? What's your favourite thing about your opponent? We asked him this yesterday.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've talked about this before in the past, right? And he's talked about his family, and look, family's important to all of us, and I think that is a good thing. I'm a big believer in families, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't the love and support and sacrifice of my own family. And I think being, someone who believes in family is a good thing.